top tier fuel, is it important? Is it necessary? You may have heard a lot of talks about it online, and there's a lot of misconceptions, I do believe, especially whenever you throw in 10% ethanol or 15% ethanol and all the different types of fuels out there. There's a lot of different ones out for sure, and a lot of different name brands. You have Shell, you have Chevron, you have BP. So what does it all mean, and how does it impact your truck, especially whenever you throw in direct injection? And now there's so many different types of direct injection. You have just the regular direct injection where it's just one type of injection, and then you have double port or double injection, which you have the port injection plus the direct injection, or dual injection, I should say. So we're going to talk about top tier fuel, how many gas stations truly offer top tier fuel, what to look for whenever you actually go to find top tier fuel at a gas station, some misconceptions about fuel in general and how it actually impacts direct injection overall. And if you don't get top tier fuel, kind of like what I've done in the past 20,000 miles, I have, but it's not very readily available where I live, what are some things you can actually do about it? So let's start there, and we're going to actually kind of discuss direct injection too in the mix of all this, because the Colorado just has direct injection, which can be somewhat very problematic. And in the Colorado community, I don't think that's discussed very much. Because I came from the WRX community, which direct injection in the 2.0, the 2015 plus WRX was discussed quite often because at 60,000 miles, most people were walnut blasting their WRXs or the motor, the FA20 at the time. But I really haven't heard the term walnut blasting in the community or the Colorado community in this new 2.7 direct injection turbo max motor. But I'd imagine whenever we get closer to that mileage that there will be deterioration in performance because the valves will be coated. Fuel does not hit the backside of the valves on these motors. I have a Mustang. It also has direct injection. However, it also is port injected. So I don't necessarily have to worry about that. I get the benefits of direct injection, but also the benefits of port injection with that vehicle. So we want to actually try to have top tier fuel. Top tier fuel helps prevent that to a certain degree. But now again, for the last 20,000 miles, I haven't been very consistent. So let's try to solve that. I am going to go today and try to get some fuel additive to kind of start trying to get some benefits of using some better fuel moving forward. We're coming up on 20,000 miles right now. I got about 200 more miles and we'll do a review video, and that's coming here shortly, plus a lot more, but stick with me on that. And I'll talk about the type of fuel additive that I'm going to be using and why I'm using that specific one, because you don't want to use one that's too harsh, but you want to use one that's actually going to work well for your vehicle or your application. Another misconception we'll talk about as well is brand names of fuel. There's Shell, there's Chevron, there's BP. Now those names are labeled all over the gas stations. I actually worked at a gas station when I was much younger. It was a Valero. And I will say that you'll see the gas tankers come in, and the tankers don't necessarily match up to what brand of gas you're selling. And the reason being is because they aren't really selling that type of gas. It is really a creditor. It's the type of credit agency that they're using to actually it's a label more or less. So that's not actually the brand name of gas you're getting necessarily. There's a lot to that. It might be some of the additive packs sometimes, not all the time. So more so important than not is your top tier gas. Not all Shell gas is actually top tier. If it's a Shell gas station, it does not mean that it's top tier. Keep that in mind. Look for the label that I'm going to post in the right or left in this video right now, so you'll know kind of what to look for. But let's get started. Let's start out getting some fuel additive. Let's head out and discuss what may be the best in the aspect of that. But first, let's throw in a sound clip of what direct injection sounds like, because I know a lot of people are somewhat nervous when their trucks start up, or actually what it does sound like. So here's what mine sounds like anyways. I consider mine somewhat rather normal. I don't hear any odd noises from my experience of direct injection. I've owned several vehicles that have had direct injection. I actually owned one back in 2000, I believe it was 2008. I owned the Cobalt turbocharged, which was one of the rather early on direct injected vehicles, especially by Chevy. So anyways, this is what mine sounds like. So let's get on our way. So I ended up getting the Chevron with Chevron, which is usually what I've gotten in the past for any type of direct injection. It just seems to be kind of like a mild, it's almost pretty mild, but also it seems to clean pretty good. So you should actually probably be doing this every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, just whenever you're doing your oil change. I wouldn't do it more than that. I'm not going to do my oil change for probably the next 2,000 miles anyways in the truck. But, you know, again, I haven't done this in 20,000 miles. I'll show you right now. So the truck now has 19,891. As mentioned, I'm going to try to do a 20,000 mile review of the truck here. It might be a little bit over whenever I get the review done. But anyways, I'm going to throw this in the truck. I'm going to go fill the truck up with actually some top tier gas at the Shell station, because I do know where one is at. I live in Southwest Virginia, between Southwest Virginia and Eastern Tennessee, and there's just not a lot of the top tier gas stations around. It doesn't necessarily have to be a name brand gas station to have top tier gas, as mentioned. But as Chevy's recommended, top tier gas doesn't, 87, 89, 93, but the top tier detergents is really what's important. So let's go ahead and fill it up. Let's put the this additive in and just have a little bit more of a conversation afterwards. So it's getting dark out pretty quick, and I just wanted to get this video, I want to get it done for you guys. In all honesty, what really made me think about doing this video, honestly, was, the direct injection in the Colorado. I don't know if everybody's experienced this or not. It's kind of rather loud, or at least what I think is the direct injection, and honestly the high pressure fuel pump. For anybody that knows or has had anything with high pressure fuel pumps or direct injection, they shoot, they use the cam lobes, actually use a low pressure fuel pump in the tank and the high pressure fuel pump in the engine bay. And the pressures of the fuel at the fuel rail is very, very high. The PSI is well over, I think, gosh, the WRX, you could watch it actually on the access port on the tuner. You could see anytime you got into mid throttle, upper throttle, the pressures were, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I do know, low pressure fuel pump is somewhere around, nowhere more than 40, 50 PSI, 60 PSI, something like that. But now you're talking 1,000, 1,500 PSI, 1,600 PSI with a high pressure fuel pump. So the pressures have to be much greater, but now that does allow you to actually have a bit more control of the fuel if you're tuning a motor, because you can actually, again, you direct injection, you inject the fuel directly into the cylinder. So the combustion's a lot cooler. It actually is a lot more efficient. It's just better all around. Now, interestingly, on a lot of the forums here recently, I've noticed people say, well, I need to actually run non-E85 or non-ethanol gas in my truck or in my vehicle every so often, to take care of it. That's really not the case anymore, especially in modern vehicles. And honestly, you're probably doing more of a detriment to your vehicle than a positive nowadays. Because especially since manufacturers are recommending top tier gas, and there's even such thing now as top tier plus, which is built directly for direct injection. And I don't know, I don't have any access to top tier plus that I'm aware of. I'm sure they're maybe like Knoxville or something like that, and maybe some of the bigger cities. I just haven't really Googled to see if anybody offers top tier plus. It's just kind of new. It's rather new, anyways. And I'm sure maybe as gas prices come down, which hopefully they do. Maybe that'll become a little bit more as an option. I don't know that my gas prices may lessen quality. Who knows? But anyways, I will say that 100% gas, it does not equal quality. It does not equal a good gas. In all honesty, in a turbocharged vehicle, you want ethanol. So if your vehicle is able to run a 10% ethanol, which all modern vehicles are, you want to be able to run it because you're actually getting a good cooling factor from the ethanol. It runs much cooler. Again, ethanol is alcohol. When it burns, it's much cooler than that of petroleum or of oil or gas, whatever. So definitely, take advantage of ethanol. Yes, you might lose a little bit of, gas mileage, maybe like a 5 or 10%, whatever it may be, but it's very, very minimal at, 10% or 15% ethanol content. But now with the WRX, I had a tune, actually I had a 55% ethanol content blended tune. I think I can run it up to 60% before the high pressure fuel pump didn't like it too much. But the horsepower between, my 93 map tune versus my ethanol tune or E85 or E50 tune or E55 blend tune was somewhere in the range of 60 horsepower. And that was a significant difference. And just the ability of the knock, or not having to worry about spark knock running ethanol, and having that much more power. And gosh, E85 is so much cheaper. It's actually just as cheap, or sometimes cheaper than 87. So please, if you're out there telling people not to run, or to run, full gas ever so often, don't spread that misinformation, because most of the times the gas stations that have full blended gas, the quality of the gas, I'm just going to say it. I don't care to say it. I mean, if I'm wrong, okay, I may be wrong. But most of the gas stations out there that say they have fully blended 100% gas, unless it's race gas, is crap. And that's just the truth. It's going to be more expensive, and usually the gas stations, just the quality is not as good. It's not going to be top tier. Most of the places that offer 100% gas will not be top tier gas. So for sure, make sure you're running a good quality gas, especially if it's direct injection, because you have the problem, especially if it doesn't have port injection, because you have the problem of not being able to blast the back of your valves and cleaning those out. So what's the solution to that? How do you actually clean out the back of your valves in just direct injected vehicle with no port injection? There is really no good solution. There is no good solution, to be 100% honest. Like I mentioned earlier, and I know it's not mentioned much in the Colorado community. I don't know if Chevy's actually came out with a procedure. I'm sure that they've talked about maybe some, you might hook up some fuel treatment to the engine and blast it through the motor, but that's not going to break down carbon deposits that's built up over 40 or 50,000 miles. Because those carbon deposits, they're some serious business. If you've ever pulled up, and I'll show you a picture if I can in this video of what an actual carbon buildup motor looks like from, say, a WRX. And you may say it's going to be different in a Colorado. Not really. Direct injection between the two platforms, yes. I mean, they're going to be different motors, but you're not getting actual fuel over the valves or the back of the valves. So it's going to cause that carbon buildup. And also, it's a turbocharged vehicle, and it has over 400 foot-pounds of torque from a 2.7 liter. That's a lot of torque, and it's a high compression, high boost motor. That's pretty bad combination. So it's a high maintenance motor, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. And a lot of people may, especially with it being an entry level truck, may go in with the conception that they can just treat it like a truck, and it's gonna last forever. That's not true either. I mean, I'd like for that to be the case, and I think GM actually puts that out there that is the case. But and I think that a lot of people mentioned they've actually had oil loss. Yes, you will have oil loss in a turbocharged vehicle, and especially in a direct injected turbocharged vehicle, because you're diluting the oil. So I know GM recommends there's certain special types of oil, absolutely, and go ahead and use it for warranty purposes. But I will say those synthetic oils that GM recommends will most likely degrade faster than 5,000 miles, and therefore you're going to actually use oil. I use somewhere between a half to a quart every oil change. And I'm aware that's going to happen. That is the case. Now, I would like to use a higher quality oil, but knowing my experience so far at 10,000 miles with having the warranty work and the transmission in the Colorado, I'm worried about it. I'm not saying that it has any problems right now, but knowing that it could down the road, I tend to want to actually make sure that warranty is intact. So I'll just continue to use our recommended, I think, Dexos oil or whatever the grade of the oil is. I think I use Pennzoil Platinum, which is the GM rated. Now, if I was actually going to use a better quality oil, I would use Pennzoil Ultra Platinum, or maybe use the new Valvoline blend that they've came out with that supposedly cleans the motors that goes along, which is not GM blended or GM certified. So, but anyways, back to the point of just using good fuel, making sure you're doing oil changes on a regular basis, 4,000 miles, knowing that it's actually going to be a motor that does take some maintenance, and that's going to be part of it. It's a high compression, high boost turbocharged 4-cylinder motor. It pulls good, has good power, it's adequate for what it does, for what it's built for, but it's going to take some extra care. It's going to be different than just, say, a V8, just an old V8 truck, okay? It's going to be slightly different. And honestly, if you could run a tune, I'm sure that, aftermarket tunes can make this truck so much more reliable and drive so much better. Because to be honest with you, I mean, like the transmission tune, I think is honestly, it's not great. The motor could probably be tuned and refined quite a bit. The fuel mapping, I can tell that it's got some lumps in it. It does. It could be just made a whole lot better. But a lot of people, I don't think, actually want to fool with it as much because of just the quality or the chance of the risk of reliability that they've had so far with warranty problems from the Colorado. But anyways, let's fill this truck up with this additive. Let's see, I'm going to see over the course of the next couple of days if it makes a difference. I don't really think it's going to make a ton of a difference. It's more preventative. I do want to take care of the truck to make sure it lasts. But anyways, I just wanted to kind of touch base with y'all on that a little bit before I added it in. Just spit on me. It's funny. So like I said, or had some text early in the video, I was actually a little bit wrong about the top tier gas stations local to me. In about a 20 or 30 mile radius, there's about 500 or 600 gas stations that actually have top tier gas. Apparently, though, all of them don't have the symbol on the gas pumps, because I actually did not, when I filled up at the Shell gas station, it is a top tier gas station. The pump that actually I filled up at did not have a top tier gas station label on it. So you can use this website, and I'll actually show you that website here in a second, to actually locate top tier gas stations. If you'd like to use those for your benefit. If you have a direct injected vehicle, even a port injected vehicle, and specifically the Colorado, since the manual actually indicates that you should be filling up with top tier gas. Now I will say, I know of several gas stations that are local to me that say they have just pure gasoline. They were not on the list. Just as I thought, most of the pure gasoline stations, gas quality is not near as good as your 10% or 15% ethanol content gas stations. Now that may differ from place to place, but that to me is local to me. Unless it's race gas, you're going to get better quality gas with 10% ethanol content. So let me show you that website right quick. As you can see, this is stationfinder.toptiergas.com. Use this website at your own risk. I don't know exactly how accurate this website is. I know that it indicates there's about 500 or 600 gas stations local to me. Again, I don't know if these are actually completely accurate. I'm not affiliated with this website, but it does indicate that you can find all the gas stations that are local to you. So we'll just use an example of just say, I don't know, New York, USA. We'll use gasoline, all brands, within a 20 mile radius. So it says that there is 500 of the 63,342 stations within this radius right here. It has all of them listed, all the gas stations that are listed in that radius. So you can just pick one, and all these stations supposedly have top tier gas. And apparently there is also, of course, diesel, top tier diesel, and it has those listed as well. So this will find all your top tier fuel. So again, I will drop this link in the description below if you're interested in using this website yourself, if you desire to use top tier fuel. So that concludes this video, and I appreciate you all joining along. If you'd like to see more content like this, please just drop in the comment below and I'll continue to make these types of videos. Hopefully you found it informative. I do have a couple of install videos. One fun part, one to try to fix a little bit of a squeak I've been having in the rear end of the Colorado. If you saw my short here recently, I did try to actually tighten the U-bolts on the leaf springs, and I thought that I actually did correct the problem, but it's still squeaking. Apparently the Chevy trucks do have an issue with the leaf spring squeaking, and this should correct it. It's a rather cheap part. You can find it on Amazon, and I'll share that with you once the video is released, if it fixes it. I just want to be transparent. Tightening the U-bolts do not make any difference whatsoever. But I will say that it does seem to drive a little bit better, and they were loose. So it's still important to imperative to check those to see if you have yours torqued to spec or not. The other part is actually more of a, I guess it's a fun part, but honestly it can be beneficial too, and I hope you all enjoy both of those. And of course, I'll have some more Mustang content coming as well. I'm looking at a potential track day, hopefully in March, maybe back to Road Atlanta. It'll be a couple of day or a 2-day event. For those that are actually here for the Colorado, that will include YouTube because I'll actually be towing the Mustang down to the track with the Colorado. So if you're interested in seeing how the Colorado can do towing again, that video will be good for you to watch, because this time I'll be towing with all-terrain tires versus the street-like tires that I had last time. And those are here for the Mustang, which I know that I haven't had a lot of content for the Mustang here recently. We'll be getting into some more Mustang content in the spring and summer. I'm just trying to figure out what kind of direction to go with that, because I do want to include both of them back in the channel. And again, if there's any content that you all would like to see, any type of installs or any questions that you all have, please just drop them in the comments and I'll try to address them. I do respond to all comments that are made. I try to be as quick as possible with those as well, because I'm here to help or try to be as informative as I can. But thank you all for being supportive. Thank those that have subscribed. I hope those that have not subscribed will do so and join me along for this journey. Until next time, see y'all. Bye.